300 isn't just a number, it is our destination.
Hey team, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to Fall League Bowling season. My name is Brian, core design engineer with Brunswick Bowling, and today we're taking a look at the brand new DV8 Mantra. This new nameplate is powered by a new core for the DV8 lineup. It is the Mantra core. It has been DV8's mantra since 2011. Hey, I have it on the shirt. That they make beautiful, eye-popping bowling balls with eye-popping ball motion. Now, of course, this isn't the strongest or the sharpest ball that DV8 offers, but that's what makes this mantra perfect for the start of league bowling season. It's going to be a well-rounded, versatile bowling ball for the middle of your bag as an asymmetrical piece. Of course, powering this brand new mantra nameplate is the Mantra core. Again, new top to bottom, and we're going to talk about the shape in just one second. First, a quick recap of the numbers for you. 2498 RG is effectively 250 RG. That's exceptionally middle of the road. That's exactly what I consider to be the middle of the RG range. That means it's going to be mid-revving. It's not going to be too early and it's not going to be too late. 047 is just to the high side of the middle of the differential range. That means it's going to offer you a good amount of flare potential without over-revving or over-reading in the front part of the lane. And an 011 intermediate differential contributes to a little more change of direction, a little more jerk at the back of the lane as the ball encounters friction. Now, 011 is very light on the intermediate differential. So this is what I consider to be a bridge ball, meaning that it's going to bridge the gap between symmetrical and asymmetrical core shapes in terms of its motion potential and also its general shape at the back of the lane. So 011 intermediate differential, of course, before drilling, usually a little more after drilling with pin-up layouts or tall pin layouts for no-thumb bowlers, but it's not going to get you into the crazy high intermediate diff range, and because of that, it's going to offer you more mid-lane security than a symmetrical ball while still being a little more blended and more continuous at the back of the lane, on par with a symmetrical ball, despite the fact that it has built-in asymmetry. So a little bit of the best of both worlds to give you a little firmer read without so much change of direction, without locking up and going forward either. And like I said, what a time to release this ball, because that's a very good look typically for opening up transition on house shot type conditions. But it's not just the numbers, it's also the shape that drives the ball motion. So as the Mantra core spins around right here, we'll take a look at the shape and talk about the design features of this core. This one is relatively tall, and that means that when you have a pin under layout, if you really want to control the flare potential, or if you have a low pin layout for those no-thumb bowlers, then you're going to drive your fingers into the top of this core, drive down the differential, and get a resulting motion that is definitely cleaner and tamer with more of an arcing motion overall. The core sides of this are shaved, as you see in the front and the back. That contributes to the 11 points of intermediate differential, but that also means that there's not too much interaction with the thumb or with the fingers in long pin layouts for no thumb bowlers when you drill long pin layouts or tall pin layouts or pin-up layouts for thumb-in bowlers. And all that's to say, the numbers aren't going to balloon on you. You're not going to have an uncontrollable asymmetrical ball even with a tall pin layout or a pin-up layout. In other words, this ball is not going to compete with the likes of the Collision series. It's meant to be a step down, and it's meant to be a step into transition when those bigger symmetrical balls with the 050 differentials and the bigger asymmetrical balls with the high intermediate differentials become too much or too early. That is why we didn't want to go too crazy with the post-drill capabilities of this core. It's going to slot really nicely into the transition piece of the DV8 lineup. And last but not least, as we work our way down this core, it's got a low mid-band and kind of a conic nose that comes toward the pin side of this ball. Of course, this ball being dot with the dot on the top of the ball. So on the bottom, we have this conic nose. That is going to drive some mass away from the center of mass of this core. And like some of the multi-density pieces, the donuts and the flip pucks that you see in other brands, this is a driver of instability that's going to create a little more shape through the body of the lane for you as the ball starts to transition through its hook and roll phases, just by getting that center of mass away from the geometric center of the bowling ball. This one is wrapped in dynamic core. That's the blue stuff what you see. That is a stronger strength to weight ratio material so that it transfers more energy to the pins. And all of that is surrounded by the HK22 Inciter Xtreme cover stock. This is technically a new cover stock for the DV8 lineup because we have not had the HK22 base with the Inciter Xtreme additive package in a hybrid blend before. You will be very familiar with this cover stock naming convention though. Of course, HK22, our industry-leading base for cleaner front-end motion and stronger down lane motion, is got a hybrid combination of pearl and solid, and the additive package Inciter Xtreme has first been seen in the brutal collision with the HK22 base. That was the first DV8 ball to get the HK22 base, and it was again in the pearl format on the Troublemaker Pearl. So DV8 fans are going to be pretty familiar with the characteristic length and strength of this cover stock. Compounded for more length through the front part of the lane, but a hybrid to give you a more secure read than your Troublemaker Pearl. So where does this ball fit in the DV8 lineup? I've alluded to it a lot when I was talking about the core, but this I see being a transition piece no matter your bowling style. I think this one has actually surprised a couple of our web reviewers for its overall strength, especially from the mid lane to the pins. No one is saying that this is a particularly flippy ball, but the amount of dig and continuation it has from the mid lane to the pins has them playing a little further left than I think they expected. But this core being medium revving, medium flaring, and slightly asymmetric means that you're gonna get out of it kind of what you put into it. And by that I mean if you're a slightly more forward, more end over end player in terms of your release, then the ball is gonna be clean but smoother off the back of the lane, and you're gonna have a nice long hook window that's gonna be perfect for blending transitioned lanes. I'm talking early transition. And if you're a player who has a little more rotation, a little more around the side of the ball, or if you're a player that has the ability to add rotation as they go left, then this one might be relatively sharp and surprising for you. I think some of the web reviewers who have more rotation were surprised at how much back-end motion they were able to achieve out of what's considered a mildly asymmetrical bowling ball. And because of that, again, good in transition because it's good at allowing you to chase the pattern in and send the ball away from the pocket, and you'll still have that ability to get the ball off of the friction and around the corner. It's not going to do something crazy, it's not going to jerk on you, it's not going to be unpredictable, but it is going to give you a nice, what I consider to be a hard arcing motion. And that is a term that I tend to reserve for symmetrical balls that are clean and quote-unquote flippy, because they tend to have more of an arcing curve at the back of the lane to them, as opposed to an asymmetrical ball which tends to have more of a jerk stop motion, and with cleaner balls tend to be more of a skid flip motion. This one I think is kind of walking that line between those two motions, but I think it lends itself to being a more continuous motion for most player styles. If you're a speed dominant player, this one is certainly going to be very clean for you. Don't be afraid to break the box surface with a little bit of surface to give it a little more teeth in the mid lane. If you get this one started, then the hook window shouldn't be too long for you to be able to get it up to the pocket and through the pocket in a good way. And if you're a rev dominant player, I think you're going to enjoy this box finish. With our HK22 base and our stronger response to friction, there has been less need to scuff the shiny equipment to a duller surface for it to be usable and playable. With this medium revving, medium RG, medium response ball, the high rev players, this box finish is going to be right in their wheelhouse for transition. That's all the information I have on this brand new DV8 Mantra. It's going to be the perfect bridge ball in the DV8 lineup. It's not the strongest ball or the sharpest responding ball in the DV8 lineup or in the market currently, but it does what it's built to do exceptionally well. It's a perfect transition piece that gets you out of your biggest, strongest asymmetrical balls in the early transition before you need your cleaner or weaker symmetrical pieces later in the block. So a transition from something in the collision series to something like a Troublemaker Pearl or a Chill Pearl later in the block is going to be bridged perfectly by this DV8 Mantra. It'll be available in pro shops coming right up here in mid-October. Don't be afraid to like and subscribe to my YouTube and Facebook pages, Bowling Buckosh, where I make new releases every I always say new releases. I make new videos every time a new core release comes out for the brands of Brunswick. I will be here to answer any of your questions if you want to drop a comment below. I'm here to educate you guys about where these balls fit into the arsenal relative to the brand, and that way you have a better understanding of where they might fit into your arsenal if you choose to purchase them. That being said, go ahead and feel free to drop a comment if you have any questions about the Mantra, any ball in the DV8 lineup, or how any of these balls fit into your current lineup. Make sure you check back in often because I'm going to make new videos for the new releases, as I said before. Well, enough rambling. See you in the next video.